Coming up on tonight's show, the top 11 signs Israel is collapsing harder than a sharper image on the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Plus, we'll get into new proof that most Americans are struggling immensely. Is the U.S. unemployment rate really just 4.2%? Yes! If you reverse the numbers and take away the decimal point, then that's exactly what it is. And you also have to count hand jobs as employment. All that and much more coming up right now. Welcome to Unredacted Tonight. I'm the most censored comedian in America, Lee Camp. Every day we hear and see more about how remarkably repulsive and aggressive Israel's genocide is in Gaza. But you can consider this a good news segment because I'm going to cover the top 11 signs that Israel is collapsing. Number 1, IDF soldiers refusing to serve. And first of all, don't call it serving in the IDF, okay? Committing genocide is not the same as dishing out ice cream. They aren't serving unless that IDF bloodthirsty maniac handed you a chocolate mint with a caramel drizzle. Anyway, over 100,000 Israelis have reportedly stopped showing up for reserve duty. The Army informed Defense Minister Israel Katz in mid-March that the attendance rate stood at 80%. Who knows why these young men and women don't want to kill innocent children? I guess they just weren't raised right. But there's more. It's probably worse than 20% not serving. Many believe the tightly guarded number is more like 40% of reservists not showing up. This is a deeply held secret because Israel knows that having a moral core and refusing to be a dripping in blood monster is infectious. Once a few 100,000 do it, everyone's going to want to do it. Then not being a genocider will catch on quicker than magenta hair. Number 2, Israel's economy barely hanging on. Israel's economic situation right now is worse than the guy selling secondhand Tamagotchis with an unidentified mucus on them out of a broken shopping cart behind Kmart in Trenton, New Jersey. And you don't have to know what a Tamagotchi is to know that's not good. Israel's deteriorating fiscal situation has prompted big credit rating agencies to downgrade the country's status. There's been a widening of the fiscal deficit to 7.8% of GDP in 2024, up from 4.1% the year before. And that's only getting worse by the day. Who would have thought genocide would be bad for business? If you're thinking of investing somewhere, you're better off putting your money in the new Sean Diddy Combs and Kanye West fashion collaboration. For those who like their sexual assault with just a touch of crazy. By the way, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. Number 3, thousands of closing businesses and labor shortages. 46,000 Israeli businesses have been forced to shut. Hebrew newspaper Marv reported on July 10th, referring to Israel as a country in collapse. But the real number is much higher than that because they estimate that 60,000 Israeli businesses are expected to be shut down by the end of 2024. And since we're almost halfway through 2025, spoiler alert, that means the real number is probably over 80,000 sharper images in Israel right now. The businesses are closing for many reasons, like zero tourism, dual citizens leaving Israel, people not wanting to order hummus from someone who spits when they say hummus, and also a lack of laborers. 140,000 Palestinian workers from the West Bank have not been allowed to enter Israel since the October 7th attacks. The Israeli government has sought to fill the gap by bringing in workers from India and Sri Lanka. However, many key jobs are bound to remain unfilled. No one said apartheid was going to be easy. You got to devote your all to it. You can't be apartheid. I don't care what you say. I like that line.
I didn't like it.
Gary, you don't get opinions. Number 4, the U.S. partnership is strained. Trump has done several things recently that are scary for Israel. He made a deal with the Houthis in Yemen that did not include Israel, in which the Houthis will stop attacking U.S. ships, but they can keep blasting more Israeli seamen than the popular series Moyle's Gone Wild. Trump also went to the Middle East and avoided going to Israel. And he ran to Saudi Arabia to grease their skids. Get your mind out of the gutter. Grease their skids. Jesus. Though that's common for a U.S. president, he also told them they don't need to worry about normalizing relations with Israel. Until this week, a cornerstone of the U.S.-Israel relationship was a U.S. guarantee that Israel would always enjoy military superiority over its neighbors. That looks much less certain now. Indeed, Trump declared that the U.S. has no stronger partner than Saudi Arabia, a status that used to belong to Israel alone. Our ruling elite sure do love the theocracy of Saudi Arabia. Petrodollar. I don't know what petrodollar, why it could be. I can't. Petrodollar. Excuse me. Jesus. Sorry. Petrodollar. Number 5. The EU partnership is strained. The EU, long known for having slightly less courage than a fainting goat, recently found the courage to officially condemn Israel. And the Netherlands has called for a re-examination of the EU-Israel Partnership Agreement, the main instrument ensuring billions in trade and R&D collaborations. Number 6, the UN case for genocide. As you know, this past October, South Africa submitted its main legal claim to the top UN court, which accuses Israel of genocide. But I'm sure they don't have much evidence. They only submitted a 5,000-page document proving Israel is committing genocide. Okay, so they only have the entire Harry Potter series worth of war crimes written down. But maybe Israel should start covering their tracks a little better, you know? Make it look like maybe Cyprus was the one doing the ethnic cleansing. Who knows what they're up to, those crazy Cypriots. Number 7, the ICC arrest warrants. As you also know, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. Plus, the UN General Assembly demanded Israel end unlawful presence in occupied Palestinian territory. Unfortunately, the UN General Assembly's statements have the teeth of a newborn baby, or this guy. But still. Number 8, even Israelis are leaving. Over 550,000 Israelis have fled the country amid the Gaza war. And that article is from a year ago. Hundreds of thousands more have left since then. The departures area at Ben Gurion Airport is busier than the personalized ammunition kiosk at a Trump campaign event. You give a girl shotgun shells with her name on them and she'll love you forever. Plus, Israel is a country of less than 10 million people to begin with. They don't have that many to lose. What might have been a temporary escape for Israelis during the war or technical difficulties in returning has now turned into a permanent trend or permanent migration. And of those leaving, it's mostly the people with enough sense to evacuate a genocide and or enough money to fly around the world. So essentially, it's a lot of the wealthiest and the smartest. Around 8,300 high-tech professionals left Israel between the beginning of the war on Gaza and July 2024. Despite comprising less than 8% of the workforce, high-tech professionals contributed 35% of income tax revenue in 2021. Number 9, the global view of Israel is in the shitter. It's kind of offensive to shitters. What did they do to us? They're always trying to help. The public's views of Israel have turned more negative over the past 3 years. More than half of U.S. adults, 53%, now express an unfavorable opinion of Israel, up from 42% in 2022. Wow. Over half of Americans don't like genocide. I'm pretty impressed with that. You know, because that's coming from a population that views CTE as the best sport there is. Well, CTE with cheerleaders. But the shift is far greater in every other country than the U.S. Net favorability dropped globally by an average of 18.5%, decreasing in 42 out of 43 countries polled. Net favorability in Japan went from negative 39 to negative 62. In South Korea, from negative 5 to negative 47.8. And in the UK, from negative 17 to negative 29.8. Japan, even a country that eats still-beating frog hearts and reads octopus porn comic books, knows that what Israel's doing to Gaza is repulsive. And Washington's support for the genocidal regime has also come with a price. In Egypt, the U.S. went from having a positive favorability of 41 to a negative favorability of negative 14.9 from September to December. In Saudi Arabia, the U.S. saw a similar trend, dropping from a positive favorability of 12 to negative 10.5 over the same time period. I can't believe it took those countries this long to dislike the U.S. But as most people said when Elon Musk was finally revealed to be a fascist goon with a breeding fetish instead of a liberal heartthrob, better late than never. Number 10, BDS is having a profound impact. At first, when I read this, I thought it said BDSM was having a profound impact, bondage, submission, and sadomasochism. I was like, you're damn right. It has a profound impact. Saved my marriage. But no, it says BDS, boycott, divest, and sanction. A survey of 15,000 people globally found that 1 in 3 people are boycotting brands over Israel's war on Gaza. 1 in 3. That's like 20 or 30 or 40% of the world. Look, I wanted to learn math in school, but I haven't. Disability. Math makes me sleepy. It's in the DSM-5, okay? But BDS is working. Check out this headline: the quiet success of the Israel divestment movement. And that's coming from Yes Magazine, the only magazine that is fully consensual. All the others, little rapey. Plus, companies like McDonald's and Starbucks have seen sales declining due to their connection with Israel. If you yourself want to start boycotting Starbucks, it's easy. Just go to the remaining American mom and pop coffee shop. It's in Greenwood Lake, New York. Tell Barbara that Lee sent you. You'll get a free packet of Sweet and Low. And number 11, psychological collapse. As political economist and type of haircut Sheer Hever said, there is no doctrine right now. What we have is a collapse of Israeli society. It is a social collapse. It is also psychological collapse. And it has to do with the fact that Israelis have lost connection with reality. Israel is completely detached from reality. It's the Mel Gibson of the Middle East. Sure, it has bigger guns and can continue to obliterate Gaza, killing hundreds of thousands of innocent people. But the writing is on the wall. Israel will never go back to being a moderately stable apartheid regime. By committing a genocide that has been live streamed around the world, they have written their own ending. This next segment is called The Big Club.
It's a big club, and